Now, the things that I explained, see a roach, is, when I first started dancing, I must have been probably about 8 years, maybe about 7 or 8, and the gentleman was Dr. Alan Chuck Ross that would do a lot of these presentations out. I grew up in Denver, and we would have these dance clubs, and all these young boys would come into this little area, and we, back then we were really bashful, so we had to make sure the door was shut, locked, and everything before we would start dancing. But one of the main things that really stuck in my head was, whatever you put on, whatever you wear, make sure you know where it's comes from. And so that was one of the things I've always told my son. Sometimes he would want to carry a stick, or sometimes I'd say, well, make sure you know what that means. And so right now, he kind of is, he understands that part, and I always say these two plumes here, and when you go to powwows, you see all kinds of, maybe you see the spinners, you see maybe the rockers, but the plumes are the same as those, but these are the grass dancers. These are what they call the fillers. Now, but as the dancer's dancing, and as he goes, if he goes left or if he goes to the right or whatever, these plumes are always moving. And what this represents is two warriors on a horseback telling each other stories on how they dodged maybe a club, an arrow, or how they snuck up on their prey. So this is what these two feathers represent, and we call them the two warriors. So, give me your harness, or give me your headband. Now, and this is, I always look at it, this is probably one of the most important pieces that we talk about. And we always, the most questions, is like, why do you wear that big piece, that big medallion in your, in front of you? Now, what this represents is, at one time, we weren't allowed to do our dances in the early 1900s. We had to, if we did our dances, maybe we had to go way down by the lake, or maybe we had to go somewhere. But in the meantime, these dancers, they would disguise themselves with these large medallions, and with these here, sometimes they're beads, loose beads, or they were like this. And what they would do is it would cover up their face. So just in case if they had to run, or if they were, so they weren't recognized. Because if they were recognized, they were maybe cut rations or something, the punishment maybe was kind of severe back then. And so, there. Now his harness, go ahead, hold it up. His harness is, now if you look in some of those old pictures, you see those horses that have the harness on them, and then when they come prancing in, maybe to give them away or maybe to show them off, these are always on the horse, in front of the horse. And when the horse dances or kicks, these kick out, and so when the dancer's dancing as well, these kick out. And so a lot of our, dances, they say, they have different style, but the story I was always told was, that the horse is very sacred to us, and a lot of our dances kind of represent the horse of picking up and then shuffling, and how a dancing horse kind of dances, and how he holds his head real high and comes in and starts to dance. So this is what this represents. Now, every dancer kind of has a little favorite piece that they stick on their outfit, and most of it, is the baby moccasins, and these are his young boys, the young boys that are Nate. These are his moccasins, and so it's kind of maybe a good luck piece, or just to remind him who he's dancing for, and I always tell my son, dance for the health of it, and then dance for the ones that cannot dance. you know, we have a lot of grandpas and grandmas on our side, basically, you know, that really love to watch, you know, their nephews or their grandsons or their, you know, their own kids to dance. And so that's one thing I always try to teach Nape is just go dance, just dance, you know. And so that's one thing I always, you know, like I said, I always encourage him to do. We have another boy, Wayne. He started to dance, but he's more of a basketball player, you know. And I know he's a runner, and so. But I'm glad that, you know, Nape was able to you know, to pick this up, and I think, you know, the best way to learn is being put on the spot.